What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today I thought I'd tackle the question, is it okay to specialize in things that you relate to? It turns out, as is the case with most things in life, this is a nuanced question. It's not like a yes or no definitive question. So in this video, I thought I would delve into some of the things to take into consideration if you are thinking about specializing in something that you relate to, and hopefully offer some tools to help you figure this one out for yourself. There are different categories of personal connection to a particular topic, specialty, experience. It could be that you have a close tie to someone who's gone through a certain kind of experience. An example of this would be if, let's say, you grew up with a parent who abused substances and now you specialize in substance use treatment. Another example would be treating a condition that you personally experienced in your past, though maybe you've moved through it. And then the last category of connection that I think of is when you help treat folks going through something that you right now are still going through as well. Now, if you're considering specializing in something that you're very much still going through actively right now, then I do think it deserves a little extra special consideration and attention, a little extra scrutiny before making it your specialty. It does not inherently make it a bad idea. It may still be a fantastic idea, really just depending on the situation. But I think it goes without saying that there's a lot that could go wrong if we are not using a bit of scrutiny before we dive into naming something as a specialty, if it's something we're actively dealing with ourselves. All right, all of that said, let's go ahead and identify some things to consider before naming something as a specialty if you have this kind of personal tie to the topic. I think a valuable first question to start with is to ask, what are your reasons for wanting to specialize in this area? If your primary motivator is because you are seeking your own healing, that might be a good moment to pause and seek some consultation, maybe even some personal therapy. I personally believe that helping other people go through things that we've had a personal connection with is inherently healing, even though our primary reason for being there is for us to support them. And that's a critical piece that we want to parse out with this question. Another important thing to ask is how triggered you get by this topic. If you enter a full-blown, panic attack anytime you hear somebody even mention the topic that you have some personal tie with, at least today, that's probably not the thing for you to specialize in, because we don't want a situation where you don't have the bandwidth, emotional capacity, clarity, all of those things to be there with your client. Now, all of that said, I don't want to somehow convey that we're not allowed to have any sort of physiological reaction to topics that our clients go through. I mean, I feel, the anger and my heart rate go up or things like that when injustices happen towards my clients that I feel a personal connection to as well. So I personally think it's more helpful to discern how that activated state affects you. How intense does it get if you tend towards that kind of reaction with this topic, where you start to dissociate or you're not able to tend towards your client's needs or even see your client's needs? Perhaps it's not quite time, at least yet, to broach this topic. Another question to ask before naming something as a specialty is, what are your automatic thoughts that you have related to this experience? Of course, we all have automatic thoughts about pretty much everything. Do you have kind of automatic beliefs, potentially negative or harmful, shameful, frustrating beliefs about the situation or a type of person who goes through something? And how much of a hold do those automatic thoughts have? How open-minded are you to seeing things from different perspectives, different angles, so that you don't have to fully latch on to whatever that automatic thought is? Another question to consider is, are you open to the array of potential healthy outcomes that might be the best fit for your client? If you've been through something and you found something that really, really worked for you, then it can be so easy to latch on and say, this is the way to deal with this situation that you're also going through because it worked for me. And so ask yourself, am I open to the array of routes that are available that can lead my clients to a healthy outcome, and a healthy outcome for them, which might look different than a healthy outcome for you? Okay, now that I've said all that, I realize it's important that I kind of go back and add this caveat that no matter what we specialize in, no matter how connected we are with that experience, it's so important to stay connected with whatever available evidence and research we have about what is successful with a particular experience, issue, problem, etc. Just include all of that knowledge when you're reflecting on how open you are to the array of potential routes a client can take to move towards health. Another important thing to ask is, how would you respond in the situations where your clients don't improve, or they don't improve in the ways that you'd hoped? As you ask this question, if you do identify that it really feels like you need your clients to improve in order to, be okay, feel like you're a good therapist, or whatever it might be, you need every single client to improve, then I definitely encourage you to pause a bit longer, seek consultation, etc., before diving into this as a specialty. The next thing to consider, I often don't hear too many people talk about when we're talking about niching down, finding a specialty, and that sort of thing, and that is, do you find this topic inherently fascinating? If you don't find it inherently interesting, fascinating, that you're wanting to constantly learn, it doesn't have to be constantly learned, but continuously, regularly want to stay up to date and learning about it, then at least it's worth reflecting on. Like, if there's something else that's way more interesting to you, that is worth exploring a bit more, in my opinion. Another question to consider is whether you experience a sense of hope for clients seeking support in this area. Some of us get interested in a specialty because we're more motivated by anger rather than hope. And it makes sense. The anger is fully valid and deserves to stay present, even as partly a motivator. And anger may very well be riding right there in the passenger seat, but if we have hope driving the car, then we can be much more confident that it's going to be a smooth and safe ride. And anger can offer its commentary as we go, and I'm sure it will. Now, special consideration to note for those who are actively in the midst of the thing that they're connected with, that they're considering specializing in, it's important to ask how well managed that experience is and how potentially debilitating that experience is. In some cases, it might be that you have a lifelong diagnosis, but it's very well managed, and in which case you might potentially be an ideal candidate to treat folks going through the same thing. There are categories of life experiences that are quite debilitating, as in the case of, say, a chronic illness, but that might be either well managed or the mental health piece of it is well managed. However, if something is poorly managed as far as your mental well-being goes around that experience, I would strongly urge you to seek the advice and support of trusted colleagues or even a personal therapist before diving into that as a specialty. Now, as I go through these considerations, I know at least some people are going to be feeling this, so I'm going to repeat something that I now say in all of my videos where I talk about specialties. You don't have to lock in a specialty forever. Like, you really, really don't. You can change your specialty. So I wouldn't want that narrative of, I need to land on my specialty and find the one I'm going to stick with for, 30 years or whatever it is, to create an unnecessary pressure. So if you're in a situation where you're considering specializing in a particular area that you have a personal connection with, and you're just not sure if it's the best fit, if it makes sense, you could potentially just run through this list of things to consider, write down your answers, consider any remaining fears or questions that you might have lingering as well, write those down, and bring those to a trusted colleague, a consult group, or potentially even your personal therapy. And I'd like to emphasize, no need to rush this kind of decision. So coming back to our initial question of, can you specialize in something that you personally relate to? I would say the official party stance for me is, it depends. And I'd also like to say, if you're specializing in something you have absolutely no direct experience with yourself personally or through a loved one or something like that, that is also absolutely okay. It's really important that we're just equipped and capable to support our clients going through what they're going through, whatever route we take to get there. Well, whatever your specialty, your interests, I hope this episode was supportive for you. I'd love to hear what sorts of things you take into consideration when identifying a specialty, or if you're already quite specialized, what factors motivated that specialty for you? Because I think it is just a different path for all of us, and I always find it so interesting to hear all the different paths we take. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with all of your practice management needs, from scheduling to notes to billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform included for all users, and so much more. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, I think I covered a lot of things things here, so thanks for hanging with me. I hope you found it useful, and until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.